I'm Paul,
I'm Devin.
and together we're Dads and Dice, two brand new dads who like to play some games during our free time.
Yeah, and we just got done with a very, very great game of Great Western Trail, and we were joined by a good friend of ours, Dave. Board Game Dave. Go check out his channel if you haven't already. Man, guys, I loved this game. This was my first playthrough of the game. I'm not just saying it because I won, I swear. Uh, this was fun. This was a really, really fun game.
Yeah, honestly, like I said during the playthrough, I had played it a couple times this week just to kind of see how things work and all that kind of stuff. As soon as I started playing it, immediately I just knew this is Devin's game. This is
Mm.
the type of game that he likes. It's a deck builder. You have to plan all this out in ahead of time. Like this is a game made for Devin. Um, Honestly, I had a ton of fun playing it. I did not realize we were all so close. I mean, a 3 point spread, that's pretty awesome. You don't see that very often in these types of games. Ton of fun. I see a bunch of replayability on here, but
Mhm.
overall, I think it's just a great game.
Dave, what about you?
Me? Oh, I love this game. Absolutely. This is my number 3 favorite game of all time. So we
That's
were just talking about our favorites. If you're into Feast for Odin, if you're into Maracaibo, if you like Alexander Pfister games in general, Great Western Trail is just phenomenal. Definitely just so satisfying, so strategic. It's that great combination of you've got this great plan, but you also have to be super flexible because everybody else's turns change the employee market and the price of the cows, and they're putting things in each other's path, and it's so interactive. So you got to be fluid. You got to be able to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. Replayability through the charts. I've played this game many, many times, and each time it's so much fun. If you look at the score sheet, I think this is cool because score sheets typically just show you different things that you've done throughout the game. But I think what's cool about Great Western Trail is even though there's only so many actions and the rules overhead isn't huge, pretty much every row in this score sheet is like a different strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can go heavy buildings, you can go heavy stations, you can do heavy train masters, you can do heavy on the hazards, or focus on just getting high point cows, or really go heavy on objectives. Like all those things are different routes you can explore, and oh, it's great. It's great. And the employees that you get kind of funnel you toward a certain strategy, but of course you can, tweak those. And yeah, this game
Yeah,
does not get old for me at all.
you're talking about the different strategies and stuff like that. And going into it, my plan was to go cowboy heavy, right? I wanted to buy
Right.
a bunch of cattle, and I was kind of doing that at the beginning, and then it kind of faded off a little bit, um, just because the tile placement wasn't in the best, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it just
Right.
wasn't where it needed to be. So at that point, I kind of decided, oh, I'll go the train route, and just kind
Mm-hmm.
of get the stations and stuff like that. So yeah, just like you said, just where the buildings fall, you guys putting your buildings right there at the beginning, that kind of hindered me a
Mm.
little bit. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of player interaction here, and it really, like you said, it's just you have to be flexible in your plan and hope that what you're going for works.
Yeah, so I was surprised at the amount of player interaction, right? Like, and there's
Mm.
so much
Yeah.
strategy to it. Where you place your buildings, does that building, are you placing the one that has the fee, which, it seemed like of the two options, right? The one that had the fee was not as strong of an action you could do, but you
Mm.
collect that fee,
Sure.
right? Um, where you place every time you go to Kansas City, where you place the, I keep calling them workers, the helpers or whatnot,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
where you place them, right? Like there were times where, okay, I'm gonna place this cowboy where it costs 9 gold, right? Because I don't want y'all to get it for cheap, And
Right. Exactly.
so I don't know. It just, man, this game really, it did check so many boxes for me. I loved it.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I mean, you
Yeah.
saying, putting the workers where they go, it,
Mm.
it, it kind of is like a take that mechanic, but not so blatant, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not like a heavy, hey, I'm doing this just to hurt you, um, with other games, because that's something that I don't really enjoy in games, right? Like that's not, I don't really want that type of, we'll say animosity, even though that's not the word, right? Like, but here you can still kind of hurt somebody. It's just a little like, hey, take that. slightly. You know, I don't
Yeah,
want to completely destroy you, but if you want it, you really need it. Like, if you need it, you really want it, kind of thing.
for sure. And
Yeah.
going to Dave's point of the different strategies, I love that
Mm.
too, right? Like I could definitely see, okay, we hit restart, we set this game up, we play it again, right? So this one, I slaughtered a bunch of my cows, that was kind of my strategy. But part of that was I also um, built every single time around the board, right? And you can see that in our
Mm.
final scoring, I had 11 points in building, whereas you
Mhm.
guys had 5 and 2. And really, even with Dave, right? He just barely got up to the 5 on his last turn, right? Uh,
Yeah.
whereas I was building the entire time I went around, and I could just see
Mhm.
next time I play it, I forsake that and go a totally different strategy where I fill my hand with cows and get a bunch of points from that, or I don't know. I just see there's so many different strategies that you can
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, that's
So,
definitely true. Yeah.
Dave, have you tried the first edition of this game?
Let me think. Yes, I think I played the first edition twice.
And what do you think about the updates, or I mean, if you remember anything like
Oh
that? What?
gosh, very minor. I mean, the gameplay is almost identical. The only thing that's new gameplay wise is the exchange tokens. Some of the first players set up like turn order mitigation, and then Kansas City again. They made it a little bit more punishing to go there. I think in the second edition, but beyond that, it's just cosmetic. And people go both ways with the art and the style. But
Right.
yeah, well, but the biggest difference is, do you guys know what's the biggest difference in this box?
No.
A solo mode.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
okay.
right. Yes.
Which is really, really good. So when I first got this game, I was so stoked about the solo mode. I just set it up and I played it like maybe 3 days back to back. It's very good if you're a solo player. I mean,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That
To me, that was no question between the two editions. I was gonna hold out for the second edition, so I just kept waiting and waiting until it came out.
That's good because I find myself, right, like I have a wife that does play games with me. Doesn't
Mhm.
sound like to the extent that your girlfriend you were telling us does, but
Yeah.
she'll definitely play a game with me. But I would wear her out if I played games with her as much as I wanted to, right? So I
Yes.
end up playing a
Yes.
whole lot of games solo. So that is something I look for in a game, right? Is does
Mhm.
it have solo and is it actually a good solo, right? Not something that was
Yeah.
just tacked onto the game and it's really not
Hmm.
all that fun. So that's cool for sure.
Yeah. Great solo. Really, really good solo. Worth checking out for sure. I don't know if you can do
I
solo on BGA. I don't know if you could, but
So I think you can.
nice.
I'm not sure how, but I think I did see somebody that was able to do it on
That's cool.
BGA. So now with the solo here, I know like the West Kingdom games and
Mhm.
Garfield games. He generally has a couple different AIs that you can play with. Is this just one solo that kind of does just one variant that does the same kind of thing over and over, or
Let me think. So you're playing against Sam, and he gets
okay,
this board, and it's the same AI. There's different difficulties you can do, and I think you
okay,
add different cards to the deck.
cool,
Maracaibo sort of works the same way. What's really cool about this, though, is that each game it's going to specialize in one of these three things, right? So it starts with one employee, right? So if it's a cowboy, it's going to go heavy on getting cows. If it's a builder, it's going to go really heavy on buildings. Obviously, in the train, it just cruises on the train track. So even though it's the same AI opponent, when you replay it, if you have a different specialty, it feels like a totally different opponent, and it feels like you're playing against a human player who sat down at the table going, I'm going to go crazy on the trains this
yes,
game, because they just keep
yeah.
driving forward. So,
That's exactly what I was asking because I mean, like
yeah.
on Viscounts of the West Kingdom, he
Mhm.
has the person that goes heavy in the castle, and then you
Oh,
have
okay.
the person that goes
Neat.
heavy on the manuscripts, and the person that goes heavy
Neat.
on just the cards. So you can play against different people.
Hmm.
It's just different strategies. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah,
I mean, that just makes the replayability even more.
for sure.
So,
Yep. And the buildings, the way the buildings come out. And we didn't even talk about at all the B side of those buildings. Everybody gets what, 12 buildings,
Right.
right?
yes,
And every single one of them is two-sided. So the powers on the other side are totally different. Like it's a whole different game. So you can flip them all over to B, pick and choose, Yeah.
that's awesome.
Replayability is crazy high in this game. I would say.
Yeah, cool. So
Yeah.
I definitely give this game an A plus. Right, this is a game I would honestly play
Yes.
again. It's I would play it any time. Really, this is one. If Paul's ever like, hey, Devin, let's play Great Western Trail, I'm gonna definitely be like, yep, set it up, let's go.
Nice.
Yeah,
And you'll,
I'm
and
down
you'll hit
for
me up.
sure.
You'll text me.
Yeah, for sure, for
That's right.
sure. We'll definitely have it going. So, well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Dave, if you ever want to come back to our channel, just let us know. We're more than happy to share the platform with people. It's been awesome getting to know you a little bit better, and that's what this community is about, is just kind of
Mhm.
growing and getting to play games with friends, and like we talked about a couple times, virtually it's not the same, but it's a great alternative, and
Mhm.
it's still a ton of fun. So
Oh,
we,
for
we really
sure.
do appreciate you coming here and spending some time with us. So
Yeah.
thanks so much for that.
No,
for
thank
sure.
you both. This was so much fun. I loved it.
Yeah,
It
for
made it
sure.
very easy for me to just show up and play. So thank you.
Okay,
Awesome.
everybody, and I cannot stress enough, please go check out Dave's channel. It is great. He will tell you what games to buy, tell you what games to sell, just tell you what games to play, or you can watch him play. All of it's great. Go check it out. Anyway, we will see you guys on the next video. Later.
See you guys.